we mentioned the word certification of companies several times. I understand that this is not an obligation for all modules, right? It's only the case for several modules. What about if a company is now not situated in Europe, but for instance in USA or the Middle East, Africa? How does that work at that moment? Because I gather that you will not travel there and do that. Do you have a network of other bodies, maybe like yours or similar like yours, which would then take over? Or how does that work? If I have now a manufacturer which is sitting, for instance, in South Africa.
It isn't a problem because the fertilizer product can be evaluated according to FPR from out of Europe. But the requirement and the acceptation regarding this product are the same. And if the evaluation is okay and they can receive the certification, this product from Africa, for example, or from USA can purchase and the European market as well. But without CE marking, these clients or manufacturers from outside Europe can sell that product.
What about if now there has to be an audit of the manufacturing site, which I understand is the Middle East? Would you travel there and do the audit, or would you work with? Yeah, I mean, can be very nice. I mean, I would not mind, going to Saudi Arabia, and do some auditing over there. It's very nice climate.
Yes. We are ready to travel to Middle East, for example, or to the USA. But there wasn't apply for the module from the USA or from the Middle East or China. Only application was from.
Has not happened yet. Now maybe I can help there.
Regarding module B.
Maybe I can help there.
It was a nice opportunity. I became a little bit confused.
Yeah, but please let's have, because we are open for traveling. We travel a lot nowadays, mostly in Europe, but they are quite a nice travel. We learn so much, not just cultures, but other things, producing and others. So yeah, we are always ready to travel. However, we have external auditors involved our company, but we are always open. We have externals in China as well. We are traveling lots, overseas. So yeah.
Because one thought just crossed my mind. When we talk about efficacy trials, Ildiko, do they have to be GLP trials, or are development screening trials also accepted?
No, they doesn't have to be in compliance with GLP. It's not a requirement. The requirement is to be in compliance with the CENTS 7700. However, I have to say that it is almost same than GLP or GAP.
Guess so.
I by myself prefer those trials which are established by CROs. So those companies who have this good agricultural practice certificate. And the reason is, not because, I am this law strict or I always like having all the certificate on the paper. But these companies have the expertise to establish the trials in that way, which would be, the best for the manufacturer and for me, the evaluation. Because just imagine somebody do a trial at the university or in a company. There are quite strict rules or techniques with spraying and homogeneous plot size, and there are always so many small steps which are quite essential. And the company, a CRO, has way better implementation method and practice. And sometimes I'm just offering that. Okay, you can choose whatever you want, but if you don't want, to pay more, or if you want to be more sure that the implementation will be, in a higher level, I just offer that one. It doesn't mean that the only, way paper that I accept, because I accept all kinds of papers, and I always try to help the manufacturers. So many manufacturers do internally the trials. In this case, we just tell them the requirements and, they do the implementation.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I get it. I mean, again, it's a detailed question, but it's an important one because from experience, many manufacturers either do not have efficacy trials at all, or they have efficacy trials which were done for marketing purposes, so that with credibility that can be discussed. And of course, I mean, I would understand if you say now that if you have the study protocol and everything is really very clear, maybe then you can say, okay, we can accept that. But of course, having a GLP trial, or at least close to GLP, is always better, because then it is
more safety.
Yes, you have a more, realistic or credible outcome.
Yeah, as you might mentioned, or I mentioned, I'm not sure. So the field trial is not only to check the efficacy; it's to check whether how the biostimulant works in the nature, how the whole matrix is working together. And this is the reason why I prefer those places, because they are making all the notes and everything. But it doesn't mean that only those are acceptable. Sometimes manufacturer has a couple of reports from CROs and others from other places, but I doesn't have the right to say them that only these kind of reports are acceptable. Sometimes I got quite good reports from universities, from different theses and internal reports and so many other reports, and all of them is useful and it's quite okay to have them. But
so you look at the whole package, actually. That's good.
Yes.
There is some flexibility. It's not completely rigid.
Yes.
I mean, there are preferred ways, of course, but still you look at the complete picture and see whether that holds, whether the dossier is actually tight.
And if the report reaches, the minimum requirements of 7,700, I accept it, or they are acceptable, because, this is, always the key element for the evaluation. It's not I am the one who accepts the report. The report has to be in compliance with the requirements. I am the only one who check whether it's in compliance or not.
Compliance or not.
Yeah.
Excellent. Is it actually possible for you to summarize or to give a rough estimate about the costs and the timelines just for your work? I'm not talking about trials and studies and so on. Just for your work as the notification body for every module, just as the big lines. Is that possible to do that for you?
Yes, roughly. So as I said, the biostimulant, according to the module B, it has 3 parts: the evaluation, the lab test, and the efficacy evaluation. And most of the time, all the part has the same price. As Zsuzsanna mentioned, around 700 to 2,000 euros. And approximately, if all the documents is, perfect, and we doesn't have to corrigate anything, the minimum time is 6 weeks. But naturally, it takes time for manufacturers to reach this acceptable form, because label have to be perfect, and technical documentation and list of CMC, REACH registration, and all the papers.
Yeah. But that's actually very good, Ildiko. If you say, if I do my work well and I hand you, I hand over an impeccable dossier, which is where almost nothing is to be, changed, it takes 6 weeks at your end in order to have the registration, and then the product can be placed on the market, right?
Yes.
There you're unbeatable as compared to national.
Yeah. But there are so many conversations with the manufacturers that sometimes it takes more and more long, because these 6 weeks is after the point when we reach that all the document is completed. So all the document is perfect, and sometimes it's quite difficult and quite a long time to reach this point, because quite less manufacturer know about the regulations, so it could cause difficulties. Let's just be honest.
I fully get that, and as I said, it's just to have a ballpark figure, so that one can integrate that figure or that timeline into the planning. And also because, of course, when companies do an investment in such registration, they need to know when they can possibly be on the market, because they have to get a return on investment. Voilà. That's why I was asking. So that's actually very good.